So today, I'd like to go back to the fundamentals, the foundational items. We're just going to talk about working with buyers, especially in today's market. So obviously, in today's market, we definitely describe it as a very strong seller's market. Not just a strong seller's market, I would actually expand on that. I would call it a very difficult, volatile, challenging seller's market with a lot of obstacles. So as buyer's agents, what can we do to, I guess, improve our conversions, improve the likelihood that we're able to obtain for our buyers, to help our buyers, to guide our buyers, to consult, advise best. So we're gonna go back to the just the basic stuff, and if you have any questions, just feel free to stop me, and we'll go from there. So there's always intention. There's always a goal with every lecture that we do, with every session that we do. Obviously, our goal is always to provide you as much value as possible, and the more value I can provide you today, the better I'm doing. So let's get into it. I'll just introduce myself, and we'll get going. So my name is Ron Lugashi with the Zamir Group, Keller Williams Town Life, top team in the entire MLS for the last 5 years. I'm a buyer's agent on that team. I have a lot of discussions, conversations, and meetings with buyers, which of course allows me the ability to, of course, stand here and provide you whatever value I can to help you shorten your learning curve and improve your conversions. So let's get into it. All right. So before we work with buyers, we have to remember that obviously you're getting your license. You haven't had that many experiences, and what we need to know is that we definitely need to work on ourselves first, to improve ourselves, to develop ourselves, to grow, to learn, and then we can better assist, advise, consult, guide our clients. So when we discuss how do we improve, how do we grow, how do we get better, mindset's always at the very top. And the mindset's always at the very top because, well, you know that voice inside your head? The one that just said, "What voice?" Yeah, that one. So that one, we call it, obviously, drunk monkey, inner talk, self-talk, whatever you want to call it, it's there. We have to control that. And the reason we have to control that is because it can get the best of us. Obviously, the 90% of our thoughts are actually junk thoughts, negative thoughts. Our brain, in an effort to keep us comfortable and safe, creates those thoughts, and sometimes just need to tell that inner voice to just be quiet, and we have to mind our mind and stay positive, because what we do know is that negative thoughts don't necessarily increase the likelihood for positive outcomes. What we do know is that positive outcomes increase the likelihood, positive thoughts increase the likelihood for positive outcomes. So we have to mind our mind and make sure you're keeping it positive, because what we do know is that, especially in this line of work, we're going to experience many frustrating experiences, and maybe even more frustrating. Obviously, I'd actually guarantee more frustrating experiences than successful ones. So we just have to keep going. We have to understand that it's part of what we do. Everything we do is a numbers game. Just keep pushing forward, and you'll succeed. And let's keep going. Personal development is the next one on the list. I don't know everything. You don't know everything. Nobody really knows everything. So we're always learning. We're always growing. Every single day we're going to learn something. Every meeting we have, every experience we have, we're going to get better because we're going to learn from it, right? So, and then of course skills is really important. When the majority of agents, they obtain their real estate license, they think they only need to develop one skill. What is that skill? To open and close a door. And while that skill is a very important skill to have as a real estate agent, as a buyer's agent, it's not the only skill. So we're going to expand on that. We're going to discuss skills more on the next slide. Goals. If we have goals, it's going to increase the likelihood that you work towards those goals, that you achieve those goals, those outcomes, those achievements that you're looking for. Just have them. Obviously, we want them written down. It increases the likelihood even more that we'll approach those goals. We have tools at our fingertips: 135s, GPSs, business plans. If we can create those, it's going to help us, guide us down the path that we need to take. We're actually choosing the activities that we're going to help arrive at those outcomes that we're looking for, those goals that we're looking to achieve. And of course, it's also going to tell us and guide us down the paths that we shouldn't take and the activities that we shouldn't do, because that's going against what we're looking to achieve. So, goals, have them, and of course we all have a common goal. What's our common goal? Every single agent has a common goal, which is to be better today than they were yesterday, and to be better tomorrow than they were today, and to grow and to learn. That's a common goal we all have, or we all should have. Focus, I'll tell you, focus is always a work in progress. There's always distractions. There's always something taking you away from activities that we should be doing, that we know we should be doing, and we're not doing. So it's always a work in progress, because it's very easy to get sidetracked. So, we're always working on focusing on the activities that are going to create business for us now. And obviously it goes back to the 80-20. What's the 20% of the activities that will create 80% of your income? Focus on those activities and not the distractions, not the 80. Action and results, they kind of go hand in hand. Obviously, the more action we take, the more results we get. You take no action, you'll get no results. You take massive action, you get massive results. And of course, the one missing piece that we tend to forget as real estate agents is consistency. With consistency, we will reap consistent results. If we take inconsistent actions, we'll get inconsistent results. It's funny how that works. So it's always kind of like something that we forget. We think that we're going to, let's say we woke up this morning and we're going to do what we need to do. And that one day, you might have achieved or obtained results, yet, over time, that's not the best way to go about it. Obviously, the successful ones are the ones that act based on commitments and not act on how they feel. So with consistency over time, if you do the boring stuff and just do it day in and day out, and you know exactly what you're supposed to do and you do it, you'll reap the results. So consistency is a key piece of the puzzle. And of course, as we're working on ourselves, what tends to happen is, yes, we're going to improve our rapport, our confidence, our competence, the trust, the expertise. We're going to communicate all that to the consumer, to the clients, to the prospects, the buyers, the sellers, whatever you're working with, and then we'll be able to convert at a higher level when it comes to the real estate end of things. So all this stuff is really, really important that we focus on it, we work on it, we always get better on it. All right, let's keep going. So we spoke a little bit about market conditions. We have to understand that the market conditions, we call it, right now, obviously, it's the seller's market. We have what's called a supply and demand issue. There's not that much supply. There's too much demand. We're running into multiple offer situations everywhere we go. We're seeing crazy amount of offers. It doesn't matter what price range, doesn't matter what town, what area, and yet it's not necessarily a seller's market. It's a skill-based market. You see, if we improve our skill set, we'll be able to improve our conversion even in these situations. The skilled will obtain more often than the unskilled, whether it be a listing or whether it be an accepted offer for a buyer. So it's really, really important to understand that, yes, our expertise goes a long way when it comes to conversion. Our expertise goes a long way when it comes to getting an appointment from lead, from contact to meeting, from meeting to submitting offers, from submitting offers to accepted offers, from accepted offers to obtaining offers, from obtaining offers, obviously through attorney review, through inspections, and through the closing to get at the closing table. So it's definitely a skill-based market. If you speak to many agents, they're doing really well regardless of the market condition, and they're still doing better this year than they did in previous years with all the competition. So there's still plenty of business out there. We just have to understand that the more that we develop our skill, the more we'll grow our business. All right. So let's talk about skills, right? We said it's a skills-based market. What kind of skills does a buyer's agent of today need to work on? And these are just some of them. These aren't even all of them. So yes, mindset's important, and time management, and communication, and preparation, and setting expectations, and strength, and patience, and pre-qualification, and follow-up, and presenting, and handling objections, and closing. And these are all different skills that we need to be working on at all points in time. It never really ends. We're always looking to improve our skill. We're always looking to get better, and that's of course when our conversions start to improve. So instead of 1 out of 5 falling out, then 1 out of 10 will fall out. Or on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have to submit, instead of submitting 10 offers to obtain an accepted offer, we have to submit 5 offers to obtain an accepted offer. And all of these items, they really, really help in doing so. Some of the ones that kind of pop out at me personally, pre-qualification is a big one. There's no shortage of buyers out there. There's a wealth of buyers out there, yet not all buyers are created equal for one major reason. I will tell you that if you actually take the time to ask them some simple questions, pre-qualification questions, you'll discover very, very quickly that they're going to be wasting your time. See, one thing, if you haven't discovered it yet, the public or consumers have no problem wasting our time, and many of them are, if you ask them, are they working with another agent, they'll tell you, yeah, they're working with an agent, but they're not available, and they want you to show them the house, and you're going to travel 30 minutes one way, you're going to spend 20 minutes at the house, you're going to travel 30 minutes back. They just wasted your time. You want to discover if they're ready, willing, and able, and willing to do whatever it takes. That's the buyer of today. When we say what's an A buyer, we always used to say, well, a ready, willing, and able buyer, that's an A buyer. Not in today's market. In today's market, there's an additional component. It's ready, willing, and able, and ready to take action, ready to do whatever it takes. So in order for them to be prepared to do whatever it takes, we need to prepare them. That's another one on here. Preparation. We need to prepare them. So there's different ways that we can prepare them. We can discuss the buying process with them. We can discuss the market conditions with them. We can discuss what it takes to strengthen an offer. We can prepare them to take action. We can prepare them to do whatever it takes to know what they're walking into, and yet many agents do not. And what occurs right after is, well, if we're not setting the expectations for our clients, they're going to create their own expectations, and that's where there's a miscommunication. And that's also where you keep submitting offers, keep losing. If we shorten that education curve, we shorten that learning curve for the clients, if we prepare them really, really well, we'll improve our conversion at a much higher level in today's market. So those are just two of the ones that pop out. Obviously, each of these are important as well. We're always working on them. We're always looking to improve on them. And that'll help us work less, make more, because that's what skill set does for us. The better agents we become, the less we work and the more we make. And that's basically, it comes down to conversion. You see, let's just say theoretically, if I have to submit 10 offers to get 1, and then I improve my conversion to submit 5 offers to get 1, I'm working less to making more. If that makes sense. If I'm looking to improve my conversion, well, for every meeting I have, I need to have 4 meetings to submit an offer. If I can improve that by 25% to every 3 meetings I have, I submit an offer. Now I'm improving my conversion. Now I'm working less, making more. So the question is, how do we do that? Well, there's different ways to do that. Obviously, improving your skill set is the best way to simplify it. So skills are very, very important in today's market to improve your conversion. And that all starts and ends with us, right? We can't just wait for the opportunities to present themselves and then think that we're going to convert them at a higher level. Before the opportunity even presents itself, we are preparing ourselves for those opportunities so we can take advantage of those opportunities. Because if we don't prepare for those opportunities, they are more than likely going to become a missed opportunity. That's not what we're looking to do. So always be working, always be improving yourself, always be learning, always be growing, and you can't go wrong. So as long as we're improving, then we're not failing, or we might have some frustrating experiences. We're going to learn from them, but we're going to be improving day after day, week after week, month after month, year over year, right? Let's keep going. So what are some different things that we can do to, I guess, improve our conversions in today's market? Well, buyer consultation. Well, let's talk about buyer consultation for about 7 to 10 minutes here. It's really, really important to understand the benefits of the buyer consultation. It's also important to understand, how easy it is to have the discussion. So 90% of agents, it's safe to say, even without taking a survey, they don't do buyer consultation. So, I always like to ask the whatever audience I have, well, how many of you purchased a home with an agent prior to obtaining your real estate license? And I like to ask the follow-up question, well, how many of those agents actually sat you down to discuss the buying process, spoke with the market conditions, answered any real estate related questions you had, prepared you for what you're about to walk into before showing you houses? And it's always the same answer. It doesn't matter the amount of people in the audience, doesn't matter if it's 10 people or 100 people, it's usually between 0 and 1. So what that tells me, that many agents are not doing buyer consultation, which also means that it provides the ones that do an opportunity to show how much better they are, how much more professional they are, and convert at a much higher level. So I always like to ask the question, well, what's preventing agents from conducting buyer consultations? And some common answers is, well, it takes too long. And I like to say, well, what takes longer? Does it take longer to show 30 homes or spend 30 minutes discussing the buying process? Well, it takes longer to show 30 homes. And I say, okay, so your excuse or reasoning for it doesn't really work. And say, okay, well, what are some other reasons? And I just don't know what to say. Well, okay, well, do we not discuss the buying process with consumers every single day? Yeah. And do we not discuss the market conditions with consumers every single day? Yeah, well, we do. Yeah, okay. And do we not answer real estate related questions every single day? Yeah, well, of course. Well, that's exactly the structure of a buyer consultation. Isn't that funny? So we'll talk about structure in a second in more detail. So the most interesting part is you know exactly what to say, and honestly, you can't get it wrong. You cannot get it wrong. And the reason I say you cannot get it wrong is because the person sitting across from you, via virtually or physically, doesn't know what you're supposed to say. So you can't get it wrong. Now you can improve, you can look back and say, oh, you know what, I forgot to say this, I should have said that, and you can improve via your inner talk, and that's fine. But you can't get it wrong, so you might as well do it. What are the benefits of the buyer consultation? And it's right in front of you. These are some of the benefits, not even all the benefits. But yes, it's going to help us build rapport, trust, loyalty with the client. It's going to allow us the opportunity to set the expectations, us of them of us. It's really important to understand that they do not do this day in and day out. We do this day in and day out. Which means that it's our job to set the expectation. Now, if we're not doing that, then what's going to likely occur is that they're going to set their own expectations, and that's where surprises and miscommunications happen. That's where they start losing out, and that's where they think you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, and that's where you start losing them, right? They'll give you a limited amount of chances, especially in today's market. 1 offer, 2 offer, 3 offers lost, and then what? They're going to give you a limited amount of opportunities. So the best thing that we can do is prepare them in advance of what they're walking into. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, every 5 offers we submit, we're getting 1 accepted. Again, we have to set the expectation, right? It increases the buyer works with us and nobody else. It really does. And that's the simple version. That's the short version. If you're going to do the buyer consultation, this will be the one reason you do it. It increases the likelihood they work with you. They're going to walk out of that meeting thinking, I don't want to work with any other agent other than this person. It's just the biggest benefit that buyer consultation can provide. We're going to educate them about the process. We're going to answer any questions they have, and it's not on here, but we're going to handle as many objections as we possibly can during these consultations, presentations, discussions, whatever you want to call it, and that'll reduce the likelihood that there's surprises later. All right, so there's many benefits to buyer consultation. I encourage you and recommend that you do it. Again, everybody can run their business the way they want. I highly recommend doing it if you're looking to improve your conversion. And it's a great tool to prepare our buyers for the market conditions and to what to expect moving forward. All right, let's keep going. So, we spoke about the buying process. It's just a simple way. I like to give tips. How I describe the buying process to my personal buyers is I like to simplify things and like say, hey, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, there's 3 phases of the buying process: the attorney review, the inspection period, and the mortgage contingency period. And then I explain it to them, and they're more aware, because I like to say is the most underused words in real estate by real estate agents is this. This is what happens next. It's just amazing how many consumers and buyers just don't know. Now, we're human beings, and we all feel the same way if we don't know what happens next. So how do you feel when you don't know what happens next? Well, you feel anxious and you feel frustrated, and you're more likely to be distraught and upset. And no, we don't want clients like those. So how do we reduce their anxiety levels, which is natural in a transaction? How do we reduce those levels of anxiety? Well, we can educate them. We can tell them this is what happens next. You can explain the buying process to them as many times as you like. They're not going to remember everything you say. So every conversation we have, we should always be telling them what happens next. It's just a simple tip. If you want to be better than most agents, just do that one thing. So there's a lot of different ways. This is just a visual for them to see. Obviously they, you can use, you can structure it as you wish, but this is just a visual that they can help them retain more information. So when we're talking about buyer consultation, we're talking about choosing an agent in today's market. A buyer selects an agent based on value, right? And what does it cost to hire a buyer's agent in the state of New Jersey? $0, right? So if it costs $0, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, would you like to hire an expert or an amateur? What do you prefer? Yeah, they probably want to go with an expert. So question is, what type of value are we providing? We're always looking to provide the most value possible. Not that you need that many value propositions in order to convert at a high level. Honestly, you only need really 1 or 2 value propositions in order to convert a high level, or even be the first agent to approach them. I think 70-something% of buyers select to work with the first agent they come across face-to-face. So it's really important to get to that face-to-face meeting. And of course, value propositions will always improve the likelihood they hire you and stick with you. So what kind of value propositions can we provide our clients? Well, it's right there on the list. Expertise, knowledge, previewing homes before they do, obtaining in multiple offer situations, over communication, negotiation skills, accommodating them, vendor networks, off-market homes preparation and guiding them, understanding the local markets, and that's a lot of them. And many agents know what their value proposition is. What I've found is that many of those very same agents, the difficulty they have is not discovering what their value proposition is, but it's in the communication of it. So when I say, well, why should I hire you? Why should I choose you? Why should I work with you? What is your response at that very moment? What are you saying in that split second? What words are coming out of your mouth in order to communicate that value proposition? And that's where the majority of agents actually have difficulty. It's not in knowing their value proposition, it's in communication of it. So just an easy tip, an easy way to communicate value proposition is just saying one of these 3 things. Does this benefit you? Is this of value to you? Is this helpful to you? And what that looks like is, well, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, would it be helpful to you if I saw every single home before you did, so you don't have to waste your time? Yes, of course. Yeah, sure. Okay, here. And Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, your first-time home buyers, would it benefit you if I sent you some recommendations for lenders that'll take very good care of you, and inspectors and lawyers and roofers and landscapers and window cleaners and gutter guys and pest control services and plumbers and electricians and handymen? Yeah, sure, that would. You see, you're communicating the value and you're asking them a question that they can only say yes to, so you're also obtaining compliance. And the goal of our conversations with buyer, whether it be through the pre-qualification or the buyer consultation, any opportunity you have that you're looking to convert them and communicate value, we're always going, communicating value, and we're obtaining yeses. And that, of course, it increases the likelihood they stick with us because we're providing so much value. So is this helpful to you? Does this benefit you? Is this of value to you? So just stick your value proposition, stick one of those lines in, obtain a yes, and go from there. All right. So, I didn't talk about structure. Again, I don't want to stay on this topic too long because we got a lot, but the structure of a buyer consultation is very, very easy. Again, we spoke about buying process. We spoke about the market conditions. You want to answer any real estate related questions they have. You also obviously want to do a needs analysis to discover what they're looking for. That's what's going to minimize the amount of homes that we're showing. And then, of course, there's the intro, tell me about yourself, and the close, let's go to work. So the structure of a buyer consultation, it's fairly simple to internalize. You just have to understand that it's broken up in parts, and it's just easier to remember, what you need to say, and not be so overwhelmed by it. It's easy to become overwhelmed, as soon as you get your license and you get into real estate and you hear some, all this information being thrown at you. It gets kind of overwhelming, but at the end of the day, you're going to do it once, and you're going to get better the second time you do it, and you're going to get better the third time you do it, and you're going to get better the 10th time you do it, and the 100th time. It's a progression. It's just like walking or riding a bike or swimming. You have to jump in the water in order to start swimming. So you have to get on the bike in order to ride a bike. You have to try to stand up in order to start walking. There's always a beginning. Obviously, I started with my first one. You're going to start with your first one, and it's a progression. So we're always looking to improve, and the more experiences we have, the faster we improve. All right. So let's get into lead gen activity. So, this is, of course, the job description of a real estate agent is to lead gen, and that's the job description. So what type of activities could you select to do? Well, there's no shortage of them, and you shouldn't necessarily be doing all of them. You should pick 1, 2, 3 that you want to focus on. Open houses, by all means, it is a lead gen activity, and for sale by owners and expires, and social media, systemized social media, door knocking, circle prospecting, sphere networking, events, landlords, business-to-business groups, vendors, farming, cold leads, builders, probates, investors, absentee owners, your phone networks, and etc. There's even more than not even on this list, and you shouldn't necessarily be doing all of them, but select the 1, 2, 3 activities, put them on your GPSs, your 1, 3, 5s, on your business plans, and those are the activities you're going to focus on, specialize in, develop, grow, get better at. That'll be your niche, and you know what you should be doing day in and day out when you go to work, wherever that happens to be from. So again, it has to be systemized if you're looking to convert at a much higher level, right? So anything systemized, anything that you can repeat over and over and over, you're going to go back, you're going to improve it, you're going to see what works, you're going to see what doesn't work, and you're going to obtain higher levels of conversion by being consistent with your system. All right, let's keep going. So I'm going to give you an example. So we spoke about systemizing a lead gen activity. Well, many agents are doing open houses, especially newer agents. They're using it as a lead gen activity to, come across, meet leads, right? Buyers and seller leads. And so let's see how systemizing an open house will, and different things that we can do to increase our conversion at this particular type of activity. Well, at the very top, let's talk about intention. And I'm going to go back to the GPSs on 135s in a second. The very top, one of your strategies, you're going to put a number to it, right? You're going to be specific of what you're looking to get out of these open houses, how many you're going to do. So what's your intention? How many open houses are you doing a year? Are you doing 25 a year? Are you doing 50 a year, 40 a year, 30, 100 a year? There's no right or wrong. It depends. It's all up to you. This is your business. So what do you intend? How many do you intend on doing? Okay, great. What's your intention to do what do you intend on getting out of these open houses? Why, what's important about doing them? Well, I want 1 buyer lead and 1 seller lead. Okay, great. Now we have intention. Now we're bringing those for what opportunities to look for. So be specific. This part of your system. Mindset. Why is mindset so important when it comes to increasing conversion, not just during this particular lead gen activity, but any lead gen activity? Well, let me give you a scenario, real life scenario at open houses. Let's just say theoretically, you see a car pull up in front of the open house, you see somebody walk out of the car, and you're thinking, I can't wait for them to get out of here so I can go back to my game or I can go home. And scenario 2 is you see them pull up, and you see them get out of the car, and you're thinking, I can't wait for them to come in. I can't wait to help them find a home. I can't wait for them to obtain a home for them that they're going to enjoy for many years to come. The second scenario will definitely improve your conversion. It was a rhetorical question compared to the first one for one major reason. Whether we know it or not, while people are not mind readers, they can read our minds. And I'll give you another example of that. Have you ever been in a conversation with somebody you just knew, couldn't wait to get out of that conversation? Well, yeah, okay, so the answer, so if that was the answer and you knew it right away, well, how did you know if they didn't say it? They didn't say that, right? No, well, they don't have to. You see, 93% of communication is via tonality and body language. So whether you know it or not, if you don't want to be there, they'll know. And if you don't want to be on the phones talking to FISBOs, they'll know. And if you don't want to be there when you're door knocking, they will know. It will affect your conversion. Mind your mind if you're looking to improve your conversion. It's really, really important. Scripts, a fundamental script you're going to internalize. Doesn't matter the platform, whether it's open houses, whether it's sign calls, incoming leads, doesn't matter where they come from. A fundamental, foundational script is your pre-qualifying script. Now, you could do what your traditional agent does. What does your traditional agent do? They have a script. By all means, they have a script. What does it sound like? Thanks for coming to the open house. Take a look around. If you have any questions, you let me know. And yes, that is your traditional agent script. Obviously, we're a little bit better. We're going to do a pre-qualifying type script where we're going to obtain as much information as possible so we know how much time, energy, and effort to invest in this particular prospect, lead, consumer, buyer, seller, whatever it may be. So what does it sound like? Well, where are you visiting from? Where do you live? Oh, you live in X town. Okay, great, wonderful. How long have you lived there? Do you own or do you rent? Obviously, if they say they own, well, I need to ask, you need to sell in order to buy. Congratulations, you got yourself a listing appointment. Oh, you rent? When does your lease expire? Is it a month to month or does it expire shortly? Oh, it expires in December. I said, oh, well, if we find you the right home, the perfect home today, can you terminate that lease? Oh, yeah, it's my in-laws. Okay, wonderful, great. How long have you been looking? Just been going to open houses, working with an agent, pre-qualified, yada, yada, yada. We're going to obtain as much information as we can so we know how much time, effort, and energy to invest in that particular person because, well, we could waste a lot of energy and time and efforts if we don't. So let's save all of that and just ask some simple questions. Sign-in forms, obviously there's a multitude of different ways to sign people in, obtain information. There's digital, there's apps, there's your MLS sign-in sheets. Of course, there's the old paper and pen. There's different ways. Just have one. Again, we're talking about a system here, right? We started with how many and what's your intention to get out of it and what's your script. This is a system, guys. What's your sign-in forms? And we're going to keep going. Also part of your system, items of value. Our items of value are items that we're providing them, right? So what kind of items of value you can provide at an open house? Obviously, food and beverage is a pretty common one. You can provide magnets and keychains and coffee and bagels. And of course, there's a few types of items of value that I just don't see at open houses. And obviously it's a list of other open houses and a list of other all the available listings in the town. Yet the one thing I do not see is what an offer looks like. A sample offer. I mean, is that an item of value for first-time home buyers or any buyer? Yeah, of course it is. And what about a home buyer's guide? Yeah. What's the goal of having items of value is so that we're memorable. You see, the consumer, that particular prospect consumer, they're going to go to half a dozen or as many open houses as they want to go to, and they're going to meet a lot of different agents. Yet, how are you setting yourself apart from the rest of them? How are you becoming more memorable than the rest of them? How are you more top of mind than the rest of them? And that's what items of value do for us, right? So have that as part of your system. Your follow-up. The majority of open house leads, the majority of incoming leads, wherever they come from, they're not necessarily ready, willing, and able to purchase or sell right now, which means it requires follow-up. Now, the better you are at follow-up, the better your system is in following up, the more consistent you are with follow-up, there's an increased likelihood that you'll actually reap the results of it. Now, if your follow-up system is that you're just going to send them a text, a thank you text for coming, then that's great. That's the follow-up system. But let's expand on that. Well, there's different ways to communicate. There's different ways to have a touch, and of course, text is one of them. And the handwritten notes is another, and phone calls is another, and email is another. And nowadays there's video and social media. So there's different ways to communicate. So how many touches in that first week, how many touches in that second week, that first month, that second month, so on and so forth. What does your system look like? Start asking your question, what kind of, it doesn't have to be too complicated. It can be very, very basic. It doesn't really matter if you have 3 touches the first week, 2 touches the second week, and then every month thereafter is just 1 touch. It doesn't matter what it looks like as long as you have a system that you're consistently doing. So it will improve your conversion if you have a follow-up system. And obviously, it's okay if you don't. It's your choice how you want to run your business. Just understand that if you have a follow-up system, you'll arrive at your goals with less leads. And if you don't have a follow-up system, you can still arrive at your goals by all means, but you're going to need more leads to do it. That's just the simple way to describe it for you guys. So music, make it an enjoyable setting. Lots of signage. Well, I say how many signs as part of your system. So every time you do an open house, how many signs are you putting out front? How many flags are you putting out front? How many signs are you putting on the on each turn, on each major street? Are you putting balloons? Are you putting doormats? What does your signage look like? Now, if you tell me, well, I want 2 signs and 2 flags in front of the open house, and I want 2 signs at every turn. Okay, great. So if you have at least one major street turning onto 1 side street, that's 4 signs, and then you have 2 more signs in front of the house, that's 6 signs, and then you have 2 flags. Okay, so do you have 6 signs and 2 flags? And if the answer is no, well, let's go out and get them. And it's obviously there's an initial investment there, yet you're going to have them for a long, long time. It's going to be part of your system. And honestly, if you're doing a lot of open houses in the same area, and people see how you set up your signs over and over and over again, they'll know that you specifically are inside the house before they even walk in, because they'll identify, oh, well, he has 2 signs and 2 flags in front of the house, and he has a doormat. He must be inside. So signage is really important as well. So what time you put the signs up. Again, caveat, some towns don't allow any signs. Some towns allow unlimited signs. Know the local rules and regulations, obviously. And then, of course, expertise, I save the best for last. Now, why is expertise so important in conversion? It's not just open houses. It's anything that we do. How is expertise going to help us convert at a higher level via our lead gen activities? Well, there's 2 different types of conversations that can happen between a consumer and an agent. And a lot of consumers, they walk into an open house and they'll tell the agents what they're looking for, and the agents will say, well, I'll send you an email later. Okay, great. And let me ask you a question. If you've already physically seen all the inventory in that price range, or all the inventory in general, you don't need to go to a computer. You have a special ability. Well, based on what you're telling me, Mr. or Ms. Buyer, I've already seen all the inventory. I would recommend saying properties A, B, C, not necessarily properties X, Y, Z. Would it be helpful to you if I scheduled all those in one shot? It would take about 45 minutes to an hour. They're all close to each other. Would that be helpful to you? Yes, great. Weekends or weekdays work better. You go for the close. It gives you a special ability to go for the close. You can't necessarily do that at a higher level if you're not an expert in the local inventory, or in the local market, or in that particular niche. So expertise goes a long way when we're discussing improving conversion. Now, everything I just said, for the most part, you can take it. It's a system by all means, and you can put it for sale by owners or expires or door knocking. Just the words might change, but we're still taking the ideas and we're systemizing our activities so that we can convert at a much higher level. All right, let's keep going. So incoming leads, online leads, sign calls, whatever they look like. Many agents have incoming leads. The question is, how do we improve conversion with incoming leads? Well, response time is pretty critical. The consumer of today is very instant gratification. I want what I want, and I want it now. So response time, if you're not responding to them very, very swiftly, they will go to somebody else, and they'll obtain information from somebody else, and they'll get an appointment from somebody else. And if you're not answering at all, which actually Zillow says that only 55% of calls are responded to at all, it's kind of like ordering an Uber and they only show up 55% of the time. So we're not necessarily accommodating the consumer's needs by not responding. And you also want to respond quickly, because what happens is if you don't respond quick enough and another agent responded to them sooner, because I'm telling you, their inquiry, there's no shortage of agents calling them. The first one to get the appointment is really the first one to get the appointment. And if you want to try to come in later and try to get the appointment, oh, I've already scheduled an appointment with another agent, thank you very much. So response time is critical if you're looking to convert a much higher level. Scripts, really, really important. I'll tell you, in the beginning of my career, I wasted a lot of time and energy and effort on leads that didn't go anywhere. They wasted my time. I went to the properties, I showed them properties, drove back, didn't go anywhere. The result that we're looking for won't happen if we're not pre-qualifying properly. See, 99% of the time, it doesn't go anywhere if we're not pre-qualifying. If we pre-qualify, we know what we're walking into. So we know how much time, energy, and effort to invest in that prospect, consumer, buyer, whatever it may be. So what kind of script? Pre-qualification script. It's the one script we should really internalize. It's gonna help us by leaps and bounds. It's going to help us convert a much higher level. When they call us, we'll know exactly what the situation is, and if they can't terminate their lease and it's only in December, we can still have a buyer's consultation, but we don't necessarily want to be showing them homes. Now, if they're working with another agent, you don't necessarily want to be showing them homes, and if they are not really able to obtain a mortgage, you don't really want to be showing them homes, and so on and so forth. So we want to know exactly what we're walking into, us as agents, and if it's worth our time. Understand that in today's market, I said it before when we started the session, I'm going to say it again, ready, willing, and able may not be enough to get the job done. Ready, willing, and able agents that are buyers that will do whatever it takes. Those are the type of buyers. Now we have to prepare them to get to that phase. So one, we need to prepare them, and two, we need to prepare ourselves so we can prepare them. All right. Vocal cues, really, really important. Obviously, you can mirror and you can't mirror because they can't see you, but you can look to mirror and match best you can. Obviously, if they speak with a very high volume, you can increase your volume. If they speak for a very low volume, you can decrease your volume, so on and so forth. And our goal from any incoming lead, of course, is to schedule the appointment. We are appointment makers, we are appointment getters, and if we can't schedule the appointment, we're going to follow up, because the majority of people that are incoming leads or even open house leads, they're not ready, willing, and able at that very moment. So we need to follow up. It does require us keeping in touch with them. And the end. So if anybody has any questions at all about anything I said, or they want to reach out to me, feel free to call me, text me, email me, however you like to communicate. I'm always pretty responsive. It's always my pleasure to help other agents out. You're welcome to reach out to me any which way you can. And I just want to thank you for watching today, participating today, and I want to wish everybody a great Thursday. We will be here next week. We're going to discuss buyer consultations in a much more detail. We're going to dig a lot deeper on that, and we're going to spend the full hour just on that. So I will see you next Thursday, 4 o'clock, same place, same time. Thanks again. Be well. Let's get back to work.